My name is David Fischler. I'm the chairman of the board of directors of the Iraqi Christian Relief Council, and I'm here with Juliana Tamirasi, our founder and president, who has just returned from the Middle East, where she saw the devastation caused by the earthquake in Turkey back in February, as well as met with dozens of Assyrian refugees. Juliana, in a nutshell, what did you see?
My gosh, what these eyes have seen, Pastor Fischler. First of all, hi to all of our supporters. It's such an honor to be able to come back and report to you. You have been, ever since the establishing of the organization, you've been so benevolent to the organization, and we're grateful to you. My trip to the region was full of heartache, for the Turkish people. It was full of heartache for the refugees from Iraq and Syria. The people are just devastated. The human tragedy is so large, it's so big. I always fail to put it in words. When we were walking in the destroyed areas, the destroyed churches, on the side of the road where people were still trying to dig their family members out. My team and I, it was an international team that went from Australia, from Iraq, here from the United States, and also from Dubai. We were just utterly in shock with how large the devastation was. So the impact on the Turkish people was immense. We didn't go to Syria, but the reports that were coming to Turkey from Syria, they're just absolutely heartbreaking, because there's not much aid that goes to Syria.
Right.
There are areas that are not reachable in Syria, small villages that people don't go to help. We were getting those reports as well. And then Jordan also was really sad, because refugees have been stuck there since 2014.
Which cities in Turkey did you go to?
We went to Bilecik, which is maybe about an hour and a half, 2 hours from Istanbul. Sakarya city, we went there. These two cities were of refugees, where refugees were Iraqi and refugees. But in terms of the earthquake, we flew from Istanbul to Adana. From Adana, we went to Hatay and Iskenderun. In fact, 30 minutes after we took off from Hatay airport, a second earthquake struck at, I think, 6.4 magnitude. And when we landed in Istanbul, the people that we had met there, one of them called me in complete frantic. And I think we sent some information about that already to our donors, to our community. So those two cities we visited, and it was just heartbreaking.
Who did you see there? Were they Assyrians, Turks, others?
We saw everybody. We saw Assyrians from Syria. We saw Assyrians from Iraq. We saw Greek Orthodox, Turkish citizens. We saw some Armenians. We saw many Turks that were lined up. It was just so bad, Pastor David. It was so bad.
Any sound that might suggest another earthquake?
Oh, well, there was talk that Istanbul was going to be next when we were there. And, my family, my friends that knew I was there, you guys that knew I was there, were encouraging me to leave Turkey as soon as possible. The team members that were with us, their family members, were just so concerned. They immediately called as soon as the second earthquake happened. So now we didn't see, but the people that we met where we were distributing aid were saying that they were living in under blankets, not even tents, in a stadium. People were still sleeping in the cars. And our partners that we work with, they're refugees themselves. They're from another city called Tokat. And Tokat is about 8.5 hours on a good day. And when they came to greet us and we distributed aid together, when they were heading back, as we flew to Istanbul, they were heading back to Tokat, and the weather was so bad with snow and ice. all three trucks that had come had gotten stuck in snow for hours. So an 8.5 hour trip became 12, 13 hour trip for them.
So the earthquake victims are not just dealing with the after effects of the earthquake, as bad as that is. They're also dealing with the fact that it happened in the middle of winter.
Exactly. And it was during the day it was fairly pleasant. You definitely needed a coat, but at night it was freezing. And these poor people, I think the number of the deceased is over 50,000 that they've been able to recover. For example, we funded this one family. He's a biochemical engineer from Syria. We assisted him financially for him to leave the Hatay area and then go to Ankara. He stayed with a refugee family for about 2 days, and then he went to Tokat, where we've managed to pay for his rent for about a year. So, and this man speaks eloquent English. So, in fact, in this newsletter, we're going to post a picture of this man. His name is Ronnie. He left me a voice message, and I'm hoping that we can translate this voice message to put it, translate meaning technologically translated, because it's English in it for most of the time. He had saved 5 people at the time of the earthquake, right after the earthquake. And then right before he left Hatay, somebody had a heart attack in front of him, and he administered CPR for 2 minutes. And he left. And so in his message, he's saying, I'm very sad that I'm leaving, but I'm very proud that I saved a life before I left.
Yes, absolutely. He's a hero.
So we'll see, Pastor David. I don't know. It's utter heartbreak, really, for a community that for the last 20 years, not just 20 years with the U.S. invasion of Iraq, even prior to that, during the Iraq-Iran war, this is where their calamity really began, their hardship began. And it was the first Gulf War, then it was the embargo, and then there was the invasion of the Iraq, and then ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and then ISIS. So people, poor people. And we're coming to the end of the first part, but real quick, we went to record their lives. We went to record their stories. So our team, we took a team of filmmakers to capture their stories. So we'll see. God willing, we're going to be able to produce this documentary before the end of summer. But we're hoping that the trailer will come out in a couple of months, and short stories that we're producing will really touch your hearts and raise your awareness.